I wanted to work in making movies since I was a little kid. And after I graduated from film school, my dream became a reality. I went to work in the feature film industry in New York as a production assistant. Now, if you don't know, a PA is pretty much at the bottom of the ladder, but I didn't care. I was just so excited to be on the ladder. I was so excited that I never complained about the long hours. We worked 18 hours a day, 6 days a week, and you were not allowed to take a sick day. And I never complained about the low pay. If you did the math, it was less than $10 an hour with no benefits. I was just excited to be living the dream. Now, on movies, there are two kinds of people. There's the above the line and the below the line. Now, the below the line people like me are the ones whose names are really small and scroll by. It's too quick to read in the credits. And then the above the line are the creatives and the people with money. You know, your producers, directors, and of course, actors. Now, whether it was because I was a really good, hard worker or simply because I just didn't complain, I moved up very quickly to that second rung. After just a few months, I was made first team PA. I was put in charge of the actors. Or, had to deal with them is probably more accurate. And I gotta say, I worked with a lot of actors who were less than nice, less than decent, if you will, and a couple, two, who were very nice. But there is one who stands out. And I'm gonna see if you can guess who he is. Now, if you've heard this story before, please hold your tongue. But for the rest of you, here's a hint. It was 1999. I was working on a low-budget, made-for-TNT movie called Thicker Than Blood. I assume you've all seen it. And it was about a boys' school in the ghetto and the tough yet warm-hearted priest who gave it his all to give those boys a better life. This is the audience participation part of the show. If you hear 1999 and tough yet warm-hearted priest, what actor immediately springs to mind? Denzel? Who? Spencer Tracy? Oh. Any? Who? Okay, you guys suck at this. I'm just going to tell you. It was Mickey Rourke. Obviously. Now, as first team PA, I was responsible for greeting the actors when they arrived on site, giving them their scenes, escorting them to hair and makeup, and making sure that wardrobe knew what wardrobe they needed. And in addition to my first team, hair, makeup, wardrobe, I had a lot of other help. I had the Teamsters for transporting the actors to and from set, and I had the PAs for making coffee and food runs. And to coordinate all of this, I had my handy dandy walkie-talkie. Go to 2. 2 was the channel we used for private conversations. Go to 2. Mickey's here, he's on his bus. Copy that, back to 1. Now, I loved working on movies because I was fulfilling a lifelong dream. But I really loved working on movies because I got to play with walkie-talkies all day. It was so much fun. Go to 2. Yeah, did you see that guy try to walk into shot? I know, right? Copy that, back to 1. Now, on a perfect day, everything would go smoothly and the actors would be happy. However, I quickly learned when working with actors, things very rarely went smoothly. Now, Mickey, I will say, was never mean to me. He was just more of a challenge. For example, for this movie, we were working in the Bronx. We were there for 3 weeks. And every day, For 3 weeks, Mickey's bus was parked in the exact same spot. And every day, all Mickey had to do to get to set was step off the bus, turn left, and walk 20 yards to set. And every day, it was like flagging down a 747. This way, Mickey, this way. We're going this way to set, this way. I could be jumping, screaming, shooting off flares, and half the time he'd still wander off in the wrong direction. And then there was his slightly less than perfect relationship with the hair guy. Now, Mickey would always arrive on set with his hair already perfectly coiffed in a sort of Elvis on crack look. He was really getting into character on this one. And the best part was he wouldn't let the hair guy touch his hair, okay? So in the mornings, I would walk him to set for his first scene where he would shoot his Elvis on crack priest scene. And then I would walk him back to his bus, and then he would take a nap for the 3 or 4 hours that he had to wait until the next scene, which would not normally have been a problem. In fact, normally I would have no idea, nor would I want to, of what he was doing on his bus if it weren't for the copious amounts of hair product that he employed. Because invariably, when he stepped back off the bus and I walked him back to set, he was sporting a very priestly half mohawk. And then there was the wardrobe department. They were not the biggest fans of Mickey either. Now you'd think wardrobe for a priest, pretty simple. White collar, black shirt, black jacket, black pants, done. And it was for the first week. But you see, Mickey, unlike every other actor I worked with ever, did not go back to his bus when he was wrapped for the day and change out of his priest costume. He instead got in the car with the teamster and rode back to his hotel dressed as a priest, which wouldn't even have been a problem if he ever, even once, brought back any of his costumes. This was a low-budget movie. After a week, the wardrobe department threw up their hands and said, you know what? Let him walk to set in what he's wearing, which he did. Now, if you want to set yourself the unpleasant task of watching Thicker Than Blood, see if you can spot the scenes that were shot after we ran out of wardrobe. It shouldn't be too difficult because, Mickey's daily uniform was always some variation on a blue velour running suit. But to sum up Mickey, I kind of got to tell you about this event that happened on the last day of Mickey's time on set. Something happened for the first time. I, for the first time in my career, had to call on the big guns. I had to call the movie's producer. Does anyone have eyes on Michael? Copy that. Tell him to go to 2, please. Hi, Michael. Yeah, Mickey's not going to come to set today. Nope, he won't tell me why. Yep, he's on his bus. Copy that, back to 1. Michael stormed onto Mickey's bus looking like a principal about to give a bad kid a good scolding. And he slumped back off Mickey's bus looking like a grandpa who's just realized that his grandchild is Damien. Get me the Teamster captain. I did, and then I stood back and watched as this above-the-line battle played out. It was the middle of the night. We were in the middle of the Bronx, and our production had come to a screeching halt. The Teamsters were scattered to the four corners in search of that thing that Mickey needed. We sat there and waited for 3 hours. And I got to thinking, I thought I understood movie making. I mean, I did go to film school. I understood the technicalities of how a movie was made, and I understood hard work and long hours and scraping by on the skin of your teeth until you could make it. But I couldn't understand how this man who probably had one of the coolest jobs on set, I mean, maybe even one of the coolest jobs anywhere, this man who likely was making more money on this one movie than I will see in my entire life, how he felt like he could just put at risk the livelihoods of all of these people on what, to me, at least, seemed like a fairly irrational whim. But that night I started to realize that maybe people like him thought that he could get away with that because that's exactly what he was doing. So about 3 hours later, I got the call. Jessica, go to 2. Go on 2. They found one. They're bringing it to you. Copy that. Back to 1. The Teamster came up to me and handed me what Mickey needed. I knocked on his door. He opened it up and his eyes lit up. He was like a happy little boy as I handed him his brand new Chihuahua. That was it, though. That's all it took for Mickey to go back to work. Just one little Chihuahua. And then he went to set and we finished the movie. And as I stood there looking around at the faces of the other crew members, these grown men and women who were hugging each other in relief because they would be able to feed their families this month, I started to think, this is movie making. It doesn't matter how hard you work, how smart or creative you are, your entire livelihood, it depends on meeting the demands of a spoiled brat. And then it occurred to me that if I did ever get to the top of this ladder, it was possible that 20 or 30 years from now, when I was at the top of the ladder, I would be going out in the middle of the night in search of a Chihuahua. And if that's where this ladder was leading, I thought maybe I should just find a different ladder. Copy that, back to 1. Now, when I left the film industry behind, I did not leave behind my love of making movies. I just needed security, not only financial security, but also the security of knowing that I wouldn't be at the whim of a crazy person. And so in order to guarantee that I would never have to worry about where my next paycheck was coming from, that I would always be able to make my mortgage payment, and that I would never have to meet the demands of an irrational human being, I started my own business. Okay, so I was 25, okay? I didn't know everything, I just thought I did. But I started a video production company and I produced videos for associations and corporations, federal, state, local government, and of course, nonprofits. I was making it. And then, about 12 years ago, I got this phone call. This English woman had read an article that I had written about using video online to promote your business, and she desperately needed my help. she was an orphan, and she was raising money to save the orphans. Would I be her producer? Will you be my angel? Okay, so Jill didn't actually sound like that. I can't do a posh English accent, so you're just gonna have to imagine it. Jill desperately needed these videos now. Every day that passes, more orphans starve. How could I say no to that? Now, this was one of the biggest contracts I'd ever gotten, one of the biggest productions I would ever do, and it all had to happen fast. Within a week, I had 10 crew people booked and a studio rented in DC with multiple staff lined up for post-production. Now, I'm not a complete idiot. I did get a deposit from Jill, but it was a much smaller deposit than I would normally accept. You see, she was waiting for this grant to come in that was going to pay for the video, and I was her angel. I mean, what's a few days wait when there are orphans starving in Africa? Jill was a demanding client. After an overtime-filled shoot, she called constantly, day and night, to make sure we stayed on schedule. And we did. In 3 days' time, we completed 20 videos and uploaded them to multiple video websites. It was exhausting, but I was so proud of myself and my crew for having done it. And Jill was thrilled. She wanted a quote from me on a monthly video production, Hope TV. She needed me to be her producer/angel. It was so awesome. This was what I was looking for, a way to do what I love and have guaranteed monthly income. And I got to be an angel along the way. It felt great. And then she didn't pay. I let her know that she was late and she didn't pay. The invoices were overdue and she didn't pay. I paid out thousands of dollars to the crew and thousands of dollars to the studio, well beyond the measly deposit I had gotten, and she didn't pay. She did stop answering her email, and she did stop answering her phone, and I didn't know what to do. I mean, how aggressive are you supposed to be with the orphan's angel? But then my editor found something online. Buried deep on like the 14th page of a Google search, there was an article stating, "The notorious fraudster Jill Hope has fled England and is in America, calling herself the orphan's angel and pretending to be an orphan." That gave me an idea of what I should do next. I still had the logins to all of her video sites, so I pulled down the videos we had produced for her, partly because I wanted to have some leverage, and partly because I didn't want to be an accomplice in her scheme. I went to see a lawyer. He spelled it out for me. You can win in court, but you're not going to get a dime from her. Taking her to court, in my professional opinion, would be a waste of money. I had no money left. I was withdrawing funds from my retirement in order to pay my mortgage, and frankly, I was nervous how long I could keep going before all of my account was drained. But, you see, I'm from New Jersey. I'm an Italian from New Jersey. Walking away was not an option. My first plan was to go to her hotel, knock on her door, wait for her to open it, and then punch her in the face. And then ask her to pay me what she owed. But she fled to LA before I could get to her. So I took it to court, hoping for some kind of justice. Ultimately, the legal process takes a really long time, and what you get in the end is a little piece of paper that says, yes, Jill Hope owes you money. Good luck getting it. That piece of paper did not feel like justice. She had put my business thousands of dollars in the hole, nearly cost me my townhouse, solicited donations using videos I had produced, and did it all in the name of charity. You're damn right I needed more. I got an idea. An awful, wonderful idea. You see, I had this friend who'd had his reputation demolished online. It was terrible for him. And I knew just enough about how it was done to do it myself. I set up a website, JillHopeExperiences.com. I told the story, the true story of what Jill had done. And I invited others to share their story as well. People started emailing me right away. I heard from a banker in DC whom Jill had gone to get funding for her non-existent nonprofit. A guy in LA whom she'd had Photoshop her into pictures with celebrities to make it look like she knew them. A cop in Pennsylvania who had nearly caught Jill when she tried to have a fake press pass made. And a couple in DC whom had leased Jill a flat and then had to go through the very long eviction process while she squatted for months. And then a guy contacted me whose profession is search engine optimization. He helps websites get better rankings. And apparently Jill screwed the wrong person again because he and I combined forces. We took those videos that I had made and we replaced that 1-800 number that I had put on there with a big fraud stamp. And then we posted the videos everywhere with links leading back to my website. And that's when it really started to pay off. My website moved to the top of all the search engines. It saved a manufacturer from donating millions of dollars of cloth to her made-up orphans. It rescued a New York City firefighter from sharing a charity event for victims of 9/11 with her. It kept a musician from being screwed over by her. I mean, every time I heard from another person, I felt a thrill. I wasn't getting my money back, but I was screwing up Jill's plans. And in my own little way, I was donating my services to saving the orphans. And hey, I didn't lose my townhouse or my business. In fact, demand for website videos kind of skyrocketed in the last few years, and I have been making a living doing what I love ever since. As for Jill, well, the last report I read was an article stating the notorious fraudster Jill Hope has been arrested in Uganda. I like to imagine that every time Jill bangs on her prison bars, an angel gets her wings. Thank you.